Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Good day, people. Welcome aboard here on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you greatly, as always, no matter how and where you're listening. Our good friends down on the river on 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call in Evansville and that area of Southwest Indiana, up in the region on the voice of the region, 1430 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB. The voice of the region, like I said, and then across the state to Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Make sure you keep it tuned here afterwards as well on all of these stations, but especially on The Fan. You stay tuned for the Sports Rush with Brett Rump right after Indiana Sports Beat. How's your day going? How's your week started off? Nick, the producer, with us, keeping us between the white lines. Nikolai, how's your week been going?
It's been going good so far. Absolutely enjoying this weather. I know my animals, my dogs are loving it. So just spending every opportunity outside while I can.
How many dogs does thou have?
In the household here, we have 4.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah, it's a circus sometimes. Then, we got the family. They always like to come over and bring their dogs on the weekends. And it'll be like, we got a pretty decent sized backyard. So we'll have like 7, 8 dogs at a time, on the weekends here. And they are just going
got
crazy.
Like a zoo going on, man.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Gritty. Thank you. I appreciate that. Glad to be a part of the team.
Nick getting some throwouts, some shout outs from the peeps on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, and you can join the Andy Moore Honda hotline for comments as well on our YouTube channel. Just go to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. You'll find that. Shout out to Mr. Linnell Carr. He's got a son playing on the IU football team. We'll talk some football today as we're getting each day we get closer and closer to the kickoff of college football season, and I'm more and more excited about that. Was talking to my daughter last night. She goes to Ole Miss, and unfortunately for me, ironically, Indiana's and Ole Miss's football schedules are identical as far as schedule. I mean, they have their first game is on the first day. Their home games, all of Indiana's home games are also home games for Ole Miss. Their away games are also away games for Ole Miss. It's ironic. Even their, let's see, when Indiana, their bye weeks, their second bye week is even the same. It's a little wacky. So I'm hoping I was just talking to her last night to find us a time to be able to go down there. I've never been to the Grove for a game at Ole Miss. And if you know anything about college football, you know that that's pretty much the epicenter of tailgating there. And plus, Ole Miss is going to be really, really good this year as well. So I was looking forward to being able to sneak one of those games in on their schedule. They, besides the non-con games, 8 at Wake Forest, that's a non-con game, I guess. But they play Kentucky at home. But she has too many friends coming in. I was wanting to go to that game because that's going to be a beatdown. Then after that, the big difference is they go on the road for a couple of games and then have a bye week. So 3 weeks without a game in Oxford. But while that's happening, Indiana is on the road. They also have a bye week while Ole Miss is on the road, and then when they're open, Indiana plays Nebraska. So not quite working out when Indiana takes on Washington. Ole Miss is playing Oklahoma. So we'll get it worked out. But looking forward to this football season regardless. How's everybody doing? I am very excited about this football season. As a matter of fact, I was looking at I am, remember I said this. Let's see. Dave G says, good morning, everyone. He saw a report that Indiana has moved up to being favored to getting Juju. Brother, I've been saying this all along. People have been not listening to me. Even the people of rivals. I've said, watch out. Indiana is a dark horse here. And Indiana is one of the final. I said that Indiana was in the top final two a long time ago. I'm just I can't say that Indiana has him or is getting him. Indiana's in a good position. And we're talking about the number one quarterback recruit in the United States, number one overall recruit in the country, Juju Lewis, who is committed to USC. Tana says heard Juju Lewis is leaning more towards IU, and the talking head predicted he leaves USC for IU. Thanks to Tino. Dave G says, good morning, everyone. He saw a report Indiana has moved up to being favored to getting Juju. Like I said, Tana says he's the number 3 quarterback of 2025. That's probably correct because he was actually in the 2026 class and he moved up, but he's still considered one of the top recruit in the country, I think. So Russell says a major actor in the movie Hoosiers was slapped with serving public service for inappropriate touching the same female several times in his dentist office. That didn't read right, so we'll have to get that rewritten. I don't know what you're saying there, Russell. I kind of get it, but getting back to Juju Lewis, I think that Indiana stands as good a chance as anybody as landing him. And don't be shocked if it happens. I've had some people reporters I've talked to question the ability for Indiana to land it via NIL. And I'm like, I don't know that USC is, I don't know how strong their NIL packages are. Now, Auburn, someplace like that, that's a different story. But even if it were the case, if it came down to an NIL situation, I truly believe that Indiana would be able to find someone to get them close enough on the NIL front that would not be a problem. You're looking at a team right now that potentially has the best receiving core in the Big Ten. Why would Juju Lewis not want to come to that, get to play in the Big Ten? He's going to get to play this schedule. Indiana has a lot going for it. They have as much going for it as USC does besides the name. That's people are, I'm telling you, the reason why I'm excited about this football season is because I am not considering the fact that the front of the jersey say Indiana. I'm not allowing that to infiltrate my thoughts. The fact that this was a 1-8 Big Ten team last year, I couldn't give a crap less. That team is not in the locker room now. That team is no longer in Bloomington. That entire coaching staff, gone. Half of the players, gone. And so that team is gone. It does not bother me one bit what this team did last year or the year before. Tana says USC can promise a Heisman Trophy that he will get to hold a few days before the NCAA reneges and seizes the trophy for illegal USC stuff, blah, blah. that is a problem. I'll be honest with you. Recognition and things like that. Now, he could be someone that changes that because he's coming in with a name. Someone like Tevin Coleman. All right, a few years back. Tevin Coleman should have been a Heisman finalist. It was highway robbery that he wasn't, especially with the fact that an Oklahoma team had their quarterback, I think it was Baker Mayfield, and a wide receiver in the finalists there. That was baloney. Tevin Coleman did something that had only been done 18 times in all of Division I NCAA football history. He ran for 2,000 yards, but he did it in the Big Ten. He did it against the Big Ten East schedule. I mean, there's nothing more you could ask of someone. You could not have made it any more difficult. That's why Anthony Thompson should have won the Heisman. But Indiana being on the front does not help you in any regards in that manner. But I think with even, there you go. Tanis, don't get him started. Eric Crouch beating out Randall Ebb wasn't even a finalist, was he? I think he finished like 6th in the voting. It's crap. Anyway, but I think Juju Lewis could be someone who changes that because they have a name coming in. None of these other guys, no. Even Anthony Thompson was not a national name. When you have a national name coming in, that's different. They're already paying attention to you. And all you've got to do is start performing. And I think that he can perform just as well in Indiana as any place else. Don't count Indiana out. You heard it here first. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, how long have I been talking about this? This is a big deal. And where are you guys? First of all, where are you seeing this stuff? Just out of curiosity. But don't be shocked. Know that Indiana is working twice as hard because they have to work twice as hard on landing someone like that. At the same time, they know what that would do to the program in recruiting alone. You land that guy, man, the recruits start coming. If you can land a top recruit from outside of the state, that's when you can start landing the top recruits within the state. And Indiana or Purdue, not getting that done right now, of course. Those guys go to Notre Dame, they go to Ohio State, they go to Michigan, they go to LSU, Alabama, wherever. And understandably, but something has to happen to change that. And landing a guy like Juju Lewis, that does that. Not only is he a top recruit, he's a quarterback. He is the top of the top. So it is going to be very interesting. But we've got a lot coming up before we get to the break. And our good friend Mike DeCourcy joining us. I want to remind you that coming up is where did it go? There we go. The Jordan Hull's family Never Lose Hoop golf outing. That is coming up in just over a week. It's a week from this Thursday. Get registered. It is going to be an absolute blast. Luke Goody, I just found out last night. I knew he was playing, but he's got his own team now. And then Ian Stevens has his own team. I think, let's see. And I know there's somebody else. Jordan Hulls is playing. He's got his team. He claims that he's going to win this thing. We'll see about that. But make sure you also go to the link, which I'm trying to pull it up. I always lose it. Daggone it. Oh, yeah, it's at the bottom of this. Events.golfstatus.com. Just go to events.golfstatus.com. That's events.golfstatus.com and search for Never Lose Hoop. You can register as an individual or as a team. It's only $125 a person. And for that, you get lunch from Chick-fil-A. After the event, you get a sit-down dinner. You get a free shirt. There is a silent auction with tons of IU memorabilia. You get a chance to win a stay-and-play golf package for 4 to a premier golf facility that is not necessarily in Indiana. I'm talking about places like Victoria National, courses like that, which if you know anything about, if you're a golfer, big timing it. Also, 3 shots at 3 hole-in-one opportunities, 1 for $10,000 and 2 for $5,000 on some par 3s. So yeah, a hole-in-one, not easy court, but you know what? It happens. And who else offers you that? A shot to win 20 grand and plenty more. So come out, have a good time with us, but more importantly, help us aid assisting kids affected by cancer in this area. That's what it's all about. So be a part of it. Come out and join. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Mike DeCourcy joining us. We're back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Oh, yes, you do not. Compose.
Sweet.
Mike DeCourcy doesn't have a link because I didn't send it to him.
Oh.
I've got it. See, I'm not used to that.
Yeah, if I would have no problem doing it. I just
I know.
Yeah.
I've got to get you. Did you hit a break thing there?
Segment?
Yeah.
Yep. I did.
Perfect.
I got the timestamp as well.
And when are we coming back? So I know.
1930.
Right. That way I'm going to try to keep it as tight as possible for you so you don't have to see. And using the good. Yes, sir. I just sent that. Did you not get it? I sent it to the Yahoo, I think. My bad. We got a new producer and I'm used to him sending it, and he's not used to sending it because he's new. Thank you. Let's see.
Got about 1 more minute. In 30 seconds. There you go. He's in the backstage now.
Can you add him, or can that just be me?
I should be able to add him.
There you go. Let's see. I'm gonna get rid of you, Nick.
Throw me out of there.
And there we go. Equaled it up. Can you hear us, Mike?
I hear you, Jim. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. People laughed at me when I said that Indiana has just as good a shot to land Juju Lewis as anybody. He's a quarterback, but he is the number 1 ranked quarterback in the country. And he been committed to USC, with Auburn being a tight second. But now there are people calling for him to go to Indiana. I'm like going, Everybody forgets because I guess because I didn't. It's not written. I'm gonna have to start writing stuff.
Tweet it. That's what you got to do.
Well,
you got to tweet these things, and then
I
everybody
do that.
can do it.
Then I've got to go back. Yeah, I've got to go. I think I have. I've got to go back and find that. But
Yeah.
you've got people saying now that Indiana's the favorite, and even my rival's football guy, he kind of almost laughed at me when I said that, and I'm like, so I'm going to send him a text saying, who's laughing now, baby?
Well, that would be outstanding for the Hoosiers, no doubt. That they,
What's
they
that?
have shown.
Well, it's crazy. It would be absolutely nuts. I mean, IU basketball has never had the number one recruit on a visit. Recruit.
Who was who was the number one recruit when Isaiah played? Because it's hard for me to imagine anybody was a big
don't
recruit.
know, but did they have rankings then?
Yeah, they did. Well, maybe not. I mean,
Eric Gordon was the closest they've come, and he was number 2, I believe.
Right. Street and Smiths had like the All-America teams then. I don't know if there was a consensus number one recruit in those days or not. I still remember going to the Dapper Dan in the late 70s, the Round Ball Classic, we called it in Pittsburgh. And that was Sonny Vaccaro's All-Star game. And the best players usually, not without exception, but usually played in that event. And in that period, I specifically remember like Albert King in 77 was the number one player in the class. He did not turn out to be the best player in that class, although he had a really fine college career and then a nice NBA run, not up to the standards of his brother, Bernard, but a very nice career. But I remember specifically, and that was 77. So he was the number one player in that class. Isaiah, possible Isaiah came out the same year as Ralph Saints.
Aren't we late, Nick? Nick?
Yeah, I thought you guys, I was sitting there waiting to play it. I thought you guys were just going right into it.
Nope, you got to play it, so you can just cut that hole out, all right?
Yep, sorry about that.
It's all right. Just hit us with a break, and I'll do the welcome back.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, and you know what that means. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Tons have been going on, so we've got lots to put to bed. We'll talk about Juju Lewis in a moment, even though football is not Mike's number one sport. It doesn't matter. It's still a number one. It's a number one story of potential. But the Olympics, Mike, we have to put those to bed. There's an issue with was it Jordan Childs?
Jordan Childs.
What is the deal with that? A seemingly earned bronze medal that may not be the case now?
Well, what happened was when Jordan Childs' routine was initially viewed by the judges, there's a degree of difficulty, for lack of a better term, that is assigned to her routine. And the U.S. coaches noticed that her routine had not been scored on that sense accurately, that they had missed something, that her degree of difficulty score was less than it should have been. And so they appealed the scoring after the score was posted. They noticed the error. According to the Romanian team, the Americans filed that appeal or raised that appeal, that objection, whatever, 1 minute and 4 seconds after the score. According to the U.S., they did it 47 seconds after the score. But the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and I had no idea that they got involved in these things. And honestly, they have no business in them. I mean, you don't it's as if the Court of Arbitration for Sport could come in and correct the fact that, remember the Saints and the Rams and the pass interference penalty that was so obvious but was missed, and it's as if they could come in and correct that. I mean, they have no business in adjudicating specific circumstances like this, but they decided that the appeal had been filed 4 seconds too late, which is as picayune and as ridiculous as anything I've ever heard in sports. And I've been in this business for 43 years now. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And now they're saying, after the U.S. said, no, it was 47 seconds and we can prove it, they're saying, well, that's okay. We can't change our minds. The process is not set up for that. So look, I mean, the Olympic Committee should have said that moment before they did anything, or the International Gymnastics. Actually, since it's the Olympics that awards a medal, they're the ones that should have said it. They should have said, look, gymnastics people, you screwed up. And we're not going to ruin the dreams of these two young women who performed their hearts out. We're going to give them both bronze medals because you screwed up. And instead, we have this where the Romanian woman gets her heart broken that day not because she did, because they told her she had a bronze medal. If they had gotten it right the first time and she didn't get a bronze medal, that's one thing. But to tell somebody it's your bronze and then, oh no, we screwed up, it's her bronze, that's ridiculous. That is incompetence at its highest level. And the IOC's best remedy to fix that at that moment was, look, gymnastics people screwed up big time. You both get bronze. For now and forever, you're both bronze medalists. That's what they should have done. That's what they should have said. And instead, they took the hard road. And now Jordan Childs is having to give back her bronze medal. That's absurd.
Yeah, it really is, because it's ridiculous. Because 10 years from now, no one's going to remember who won the bronze medal in that particular event unless that story comes back up. But it's just a ridiculous thing to do to an athlete who has put in what they have put in, and to take something away because of someone else's mistake. But
right. This isn't we have seen medals taken away before. And we've also seen medals restored before. And it took the Olympic Committee about 100 years to give Jim Thorpe his medals back. They could do it in less than 10 minutes. Look, it's the gymnastics people's fault. You should get your bronze. And you should get your bronze. Because neither of you did anything wrong. The one woman from Romania did a nice routine. She did what she was asked to do. And she was told at the conclusion of that competition, you have a bronze medal. And then subsequent to that, the U.S. figured out that they had screwed up. And now they say, okay, no, I'm sorry, you don't get one. She gets one. And then they say, oh no, it was 4 seconds late. She doesn't get one. It's ridiculous. And these things don't have to happen, Jim, because the solutions are easy. The solutions are, we screwed up. You both get one. You both can feel like you did what you were supposed to do to earn a bronze medal.
Why is it that these international type organizations always seem to make these sort of decisions? Instead of doing the right thing, the easy thing, it's like they always someone mentioned earlier on here that, had that not been an American, that would not been an issue. But the fact that it was an American that aided to it, them not getting the medal, because America had earned so many already. But there's so much that goes into international stuff, and most of it is not good. There's a lot of trust issues. There's just so much that seems to go on behind the curtains.
Well, it's when they do these things, they create those trust issues. They make it worse. They made the situation worse by not just saying, you know what, we screwed up. We should give them both bronze medals. IOC, you okay with that? Won't be the first time. Yeah, we're fine with it. Instead, you go through all of this, where then you start to doubt the integrity of the sport. And in a sport that is 100% judged, It's not like there's points to be scored on a scoreboard, and yeah, it's officiated, so you can screw around with the officiating. This is 100% judged. So the integrity of the judges and the competence of the judges has to be above reproach. And instead, by doing this, they create the environment where you mistrust the judges. That's a bad situation for any sport that's judged. It leads one to believe that they are, that they not only are, like, everybody's is fallible, but that leads you to believe that there's the potential to be corrupted. I'm not saying they're corrupt. I'm saying that they open the door for people to suspect there's the potential to be corrupted.
Seems like it always is, unfortunately. And it's not just the Olympics. It's just been so much. But I think anytime you get people, a lot of times people that are not truly sports people
Yes.
in these positions, and they get their hands in on things. And it's like, whoo, it's a free for all, grab all you can, free for all, like being in one of those tubes with the wind blowing and the dollar circling around you.
Yes, we saw it. We saw it in FIFA, the organization that runs professional soccer, and all the indictments that were brought down about 8 or 9 years ago by the U.S. Justice Department, and what all that led to. It's interesting to me, Jim. It's not enough that you can make a living being involved in a sport you love. For some people, it's not enough that you can make a nice living being involved in a sport you love. You have to have everything. You have to have everything. And and I'm not saying that's not universal, but we saw that in the FIFA scandal from 2016, I believe it was, that it's not universal, but it's pervasive. And we saw what happened. Many people were indicted and lost their positions, and in some cases lost their freedom, and certainly lost money through fines, etc. There were all kinds of consequences from the FIFA scandal. And again, you're in a nice position. You get to go to the Olympics and be in Paris and watch the gymnastics competition and judge it and all that, and it's a good gig. And you should want to do it the best you can. And again, nobody's perfect, and they messed up technically. And it shouldn't be a question of, well, when did you file the appeal? It should be a question of, we messed up. It was our mistake. It's not up to you to decide in 60 or 64 seconds whether or not we screwed up. We screwed up. That's how it should work. If it's correctable in some fashion, and again, as I said before, the best way to correct it is to give both athletes bronze medals and their moment on the medal stand. That would have been easy. It would have been clean, and it would have been over by now. Instead, here we are talking about it literally a week later.
Yeah, what will we do without those crazy issues? Those crazy kids. Speaking of the Olympics, overall, this seemed to be and I hate that we were just talking about that, because overall it seemed like to be a pretty daggone good Olympics. Some great storylines. The locations were magnificent. Paris did a unbelievable job of mixing in the location, the event locations. I mean, you're going from the Eiffel Tower to Versailles for the equine events. I mean, it was to Roland Garros. I don't know where they played the golf event. I can't remember where the golf.
It was called. I believe it was called something like just Golf National. It's like it translates to national golf. I think must be their like main course or something in France.
But the one thing I've said repeatedly is I so enjoyed the tennis, the golf, rugby, so many of these sports that were. Oh, and the basketball, because this is the only chance you're going to get to see an NBA All-Star team actually play hard.
Yeah.
In the All-Star game, they're just lobbing it up, whatever. They have to play in this. And you got to see LeBron James and KD and Steph Curry and all these guys play together, but play to win. That is something you're not going to see in any other opportunity, in any other situation.
Oh, it was, with the Serbia game and the France game were both nailed. They were excruciating because there was that possibility of defeat that was dangling right there. That Serbia game, how the deficit they got themselves into, it was amazing. And I don't think I've ever seen an Olympic game quite like that, where they were in such a huge deficit and managed to dig themselves out of it. And it took the combined efforts of some of the greatest players in the history of the game, from Steph to LeBron to KD. Those guys did a magnificent job getting them out of the deficit that they dug themselves by allowing Serbia to shoot so comfortably from 3-point range in the first 2-3 quarters. Struggling defensively so mightily. They came really close to losing to a team that, although they have Nikola Jokic, is not a great team. I mean, that's a very good team, but it's not a great team. They played better teams in these Olympics. They played better teams in the past. Jokic, they haven't played very many better players than him. He is just phenomenal. But they almost lost to a team that they beat twice by basically 30 points. So that it shows you how every sport, you got to play the game, and you got to play the game well if you're going to win, no matter who you are.
I think I'm going to apply for credentials ASAP for the 2028 Olympics, which are going to be in Los Angeles. I'm hoping the IU athletes will be enough to get that considered, because there'll be a bunch of them. But I'm not sure if you plan on going to that, since it's going to be a little bit closer to home. But we're 4 years away from the Olympics returning to the United States, which is going to be awesome.
Oh, the next 4 years are going to be amazing, Jim, because before that, we have the World Cup coming in 2026. So we have the greatest events in all of sports they're going to be here in the United States in the next 4 years. And I'll tell you that, because that not only that means the Final Four, we're going to have 4 Final Fours, we're going to have 4 Super Bowls, and then we're going to have a World Cup, and we're going to have an Olympics. So it doesn't get any better than the next 4 years in the United States. I'm already looking forward to doing some work on the World Cup in 26. I'm already planning ahead in my mind how to do that, because I definitely want to be there for that. And then I'd love to be a part of the Olympics in person after doing it the last 3 summer games virtually. Honestly, Jim, 2 things. One, it's harder to do it virtually than it is to do it in person. And 2, every time I go to an Olympics, I lose weight. And so I'd like to do that. Because I can.
Why is that?
Because you're constantly moving, you're constantly on the go, hardly any time to sit. And I swear I lost between 7 and 10 pounds every time I left the country to do it. No, and the Atlanta one wasn't even leaving the country. So the Olympics twice and the World Cup once, and I lost 7 to 10 pounds at each of them. I could stand to lose 7 to 10 pounds. It's too bad I wasn't in Paris. Although that would have been harder there, because every time you go a block, you run into another croissant.
Well, croissant. Hey, we've got Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News with us. We've got to take a quick break, and we will be back to get back to it here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Free Think Apparel. Make sure if you need, whether it's 24 t-shirts for the family reunion or 200 for the recreational baseball, softball league, whatever you have, or wrapping your car, freethinkapparel.com has you covered. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Free Think Apparel.
We're back to not having to be able to talk in between, Mike.
Okay.
Got our new producer, Nick, on the job. He's still learning.
Howdy.
Nick, Say hi to
How you
Mr.
doing?
DeCourcy.
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Very well.
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry about
DeCourcy
that mix-up there. That
I
first
didn't even
ad
notice
break.
it, man. I
It,
didn't even
it should be
notice
an
it,
easy
brother.
edit. So we'll just
I
do a
didn't
little
notice it.
bit.
Don't worry.
Okay, a little bit longer. So then I can just go back and cut that part out of the show, and everything will still be that hour 54 after.
How long was it?
It was 4 minutes over.
So you need me to go 4 minutes longer?
Yep.
Well, we just go to 54 on the. Oh, I got you. So we need to go to 58 because
Yep.
you're cutting 4 minutes out. All right.
Yep.
That works perfect.
Okay. Then we will be going back at 42:31.
42:21. Okay. Yeah, right. I had it right approximately. The people miss this part so bad, Mike.
Absolutely.
I am going to talk about the quarterback, which I know that's not your wheelhouse per se.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know much about
But
him.
it's just what's not about him so much. It's about the Big. We'll talk about the Big Ten, about Indiana, what it does as far as raising their level. All right. Here's a prediction, and I'll make it again. I've already said this before. I'm going to sound like such a homer this year, and it drives me insane because I've gotten pounded every year for being so negative about things. And I'm like, I'm not negative. I just tell the truth. When it's great, it's great. But Kurt Cignetti, Big Ten Coach of the Year this year.
Oh, wow.
I would put money on that.
Wow.
They're not going to give it to Sharon Moore. I don't care what he does. If he goes undefeated. Ryan Day and Dan Lanning will be the top two candidates going in. And James Franklin.
We should be going back. 3, 2, 1.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us. We are great to have you. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News with us as always. Mike, I don't know what the weather. Mike has lived in the Indianapolis area for a long time, recently back to the Pittsburgh area, to the Three Rivers area of the Three Rivers. What's the weather been like there?
Very rainy this year. We've had a ton of rain.
You guys were getting a bunch of rain. The weather here, and maybe when did you move?
We moved in April, mid-April, like right after the Final Four. Literally right after the Final Four.
You have done us a great service, sir, because July was maybe the nicest July I can recall in my lifetime. As far as the heat was not there, the humidity was not there. Then at the start of August, I had an event at French Lick last Tuesday, and it soared up to like 89. It made it miserable. Then the next day, it was right back down. And it has been that way. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? This weather is incredible. So thank you for dragging that away from us. It's been It's been wild here. I mean, this is not football practice weather. I remember when I was a boy, I had to walk uphill both ways. Yada, yada. It was like 100 degrees, 100% humidity every day. And it's been wild, but hey, I'll take it. It's great.
I know the football coaches always used to hate that in your day when it was cool in August because then they couldn't
beat you to death.
Yeah,
their favorite sayings were, "We're going to run until I get tired," and water. We'll get water when I'm thirsty. Yeah, that's the things I remember without question.
When I went to
Indiana
basketball camp when I was a kid, I learned the coach saying nobody ever drowned in sweat. That was one thing I took away from basketball camp when I was. I went to basketball camp because my brother was a good player and my dad didn't want to just send him, so he sent me too. But it was fun because I learned a lot about the game and met a lot of cool people and had a good time during my 3 weeks of basketball camp. My 1 week each year for 3 years. It was fun.
Well, I think this is probably in relation to a comment that I made off the air, and I'm going to repeat it though. Is I'm pretty much black and white. I say what I think, and if I say it's great, I say it's going to be great. If I think something is not good, I say it's not, and here's why. My Indiana football, I am expecting to surprise people. I think that their bottom is 7 wins. I think it could go higher. Because I don't know how good they're really going to be. We don't know what other teams are going to be like. Michigan is in, they've got another situation going on, which it didn't bother them last year at all, but that was under Jim Harbaugh. He has the ability to just ignore reality and live in his own reality, which he could create. I don't know if Sharon Moore can do that, but I just have gotten to where I have a lot of confidence in what Curt Cignetti is doing, that what he says is not BS, that everything has a rhyme and a reason and a purpose. His staff, he has had them for so long together. He has continuity, and the sheer fact that they are great, very, very possibly going to land Juju Lewis, which would have been an impossibility prior to this season. I mean, getting a number at the time, he was number 1 in the country, and that was in the 26th class. But just merely getting the number 1 ranked quarterback on campus for a visit twice, never ever happened. But I am predicting that Curt Cignetti will be the Big Ten Coach of the Year in the Big Ten right now. I think that Indiana, like I said, 7 is their bottom. They could win 8. Hell, they could win 9. I don't know how good they can be. I don't know what the other team's going to be like. Things happen in sports, period. Games get lost, Mike, that normally you're like, wow, I didn't see that one coming. So, but again, no matter what, I think 7's their bottom. So there you go. You can call me a homer, call me whatever you want. I'm all in on this Indiana football squad, though.
Well, I think that without a doubt, one thing, Indiana is among the great beneficiaries of the expansion of the Big Ten Conference. Not that they are not going to play terrific opponents on a regular basis, because the Big Ten is made up of a lot of really good athletic programs, football, basketball, etc. And especially now that they've added 4 excellent athletic programs from Washington, Oregon, SC, UCLA. They're all outstanding athletic programs in multiple sports. And in many cases Washington was in the championship game last year. Oregon is one of the Big Ten favorites now. UCLA and USC have great histories in the sport, obviously, especially USC. So getting away from that routine where you had to play Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan every year, regardless of what happened, any other consequences. I mean, you had to play those 3 teams every year. It's great for Penn State as well to get away from that same thing, because their ambitions are a little bit higher. Their horizon maybe is everybody has the ambition to be champions, but the likelihood of Penn State competing for a national championship is higher than Indiana's. And theirs was impaired over the last decade by Michigan and Ohio State as well, having to play them every single year without exception. That's a hardship. And so now you're going to get that varied up. Both teams, all teams in the league, all 18 teams will have their schedules varied up from year to year, with the exception of, obviously, Indiana's going to play Purdue. Obviously, Ohio State's going to play Michigan, etc. But we're going to see that's going to make a difference, to not have to have that steady diet of 100,000 seat powers, playing them 3 times, 3 of your games, of your league games are that every year. That was brutal. And it was really hard for Indiana to make forward progress in that circumstance.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And not only that, things would not have been the way they are this year, even with all that change, had it not been for the fact that you've got a team like Washington wiped out, coaching staff gone, team gone. Ironically, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of Indiana's Big Ten opponents, 7 out of 9 have a coach in his first or second season with the team. 7 out of 9. That's crazy. But that is going to aid Indiana tremendously. The UCLA game is terrifically big because it comes towards the front, third game in, and Indiana could go out and very easily upset UCLA and win that game. UCLA is one of those teams also that is maybe in more disarray than anybody. They could end up finishing last in the Big Ten, not Purdue. But because that could give Indiana a start that has not been seen in decades. There is a definitive path to 6-0 for Indiana if they can get past UCLA. You've got 4 out of your first 5 home games are at home. One of those games against Maryland, without Tagovailoa at quarterback. Then you travel to Northwestern, which tough, but a winnable game. So 6 winnable games. Then that's followed by 2 back-to-back home games against a Nebraska team, which will be tough in Matt Rule's second season. But they have a true freshman quarterback. And then you've got that Washington team at home, which will, again, brand new. Judd Fesh from Arizona. He's got to re-jump everything. So, and then Michigan State, you go to Michigan State, that's going to be tough. But those first 8 games are, the first 9 games are winnable, to be honest with you. It's crazy to say that. Let me be the first person to say I understand how crazy that sounds, but it's also a fact. And it is what it is.
Well, I think that's going to be really interesting. You haven't put any pressure at all on Coach Cignetti and the players by declaring that they're going to go. He
didn't want any part of that at Big Ten Media Days when I said, hey, Coach, there's a path to 6-0. And his direct response was, I'm not touching that. That was his direct response. And so, and that's coming from a guy who's been pretty confident.
Yes. I think, look, he took this job because he believes he can win there. And I don't know whether or not in the 14-team Big Ten structured as it was, it would have been as inviting. I really don't. Because as I said, it's just, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, all 100,000 seat stadiums, all past national champions, and all on your schedule every year was a truckload to manage. And it really made it hard for, especially in the transfer portal area. You come to Indiana, you get a little run and you see what's out there. And then all of a sudden you realize, like, we're not getting there from here. We're not getting there from here in this environment. And that was, and remember, that was also the 14 playoff era, which is another factor as well. Now that the schedule opens up a little bit, and again, I'm not trying to say that the Big Ten isn't still terrific and difficult to manage, but that intransigence of the schedule is gone. And that means that Indiana will play difficult opponents, but they won't face those 3 powers time after time after time with no deviation at all. It's much different now. And I really believe that all the programs that were in the East, Rutgers, Maryland, et cetera, that beyond the big 3 are all in better condition now because of the change. The variation of the schedule, you'll catch some teams, even if you play a Penn State, you may catch them in a lesser year than others. But when you're facing them every year, you may catch them in a lesser year, but Ohio State's going to still have it, or Michigan's still going to have it. You caught Michigan in a lesser year in 2021, or excuse me, 2020, the year and Penn State, the year of the extension and all of that. You caught those teams in lesser years, but you're not always going to get. They were never all going to have lesser years as a trio. And so now you don't have to face that trio. I really believe that made a huge difference in Indiana's football possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely, because the ones that kind of replace that normally would have been aren't that strong. Penn State is that strong this year, and that would have been, you mentioned playing the big three. AP just came out with their first AP poll of the season already, which I never liked polls this early. It's as pointless as half of what I'm saying. I'll be honest with you. These are opinions, and that's all that it can be right now, because those opinions are generally based on what is on the front of the jersey, Mike.
Yes.
Yes. They're without question. And I hate that for that reason. Yeah, we're going to expect Oregon and Ohio State to be the top two teams in the Big Ten. But why? Just because we think they are? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Because of the talent they have, not because of the thing that they've done on the field. But Georgia, number one in that first AP poll, followed by Ohio State, followed by Oregon, and in the top 10, 4 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten. So we can see that, again, football is really heading towards Big Ten and SEC showdown. You've got Notre Dame in there, which again, name. It's the big part of their name. And then Florida State from the ACC, Missouri. Then you got Utah, LSU, Clemson in the ACC, Tennessee, Oklahoma. It's a heavily flavored Big Ten SEC top 25. But
that's not a surprise, Jim, because
especially now.
But it's been that. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's been that way for forever. I mean, the ACC has, since the ACC grew, first by adding a handful of schools, Miami, et cetera, and then later on by adding Syracuse and Pitt, et cetera. Since the ACC grew to 14, 15 teams, they haven't produced, other than Clemson and last year Florida State, any other elite football programs. It's always just been those two. Pitt has not had elite football. They've had good football, but they haven't had elite football since I was in college. That's a long time ago. Syracuse has, I think, had one run with Don McPherson, where they went, I think, 11-0 or 10-1 or something like that. It just doesn't happen that often. Even when they had Donovan McNabb, I don't think they had elite performance. I think they had a terrific team, but I don't think they had elite performance. And so I think that you're looking at what is basically the same picture. It's just a little bit shuffled because the SEC took away a couple of the teams from the Big 12 that might be in that picture in Texas and Oklahoma, or the Big 10 took away, of course, the entire implosion, the Pac-12, but it's been pretty rare that they have produced those level of teams anyway. Oregon, Washington, on occasion, have had terrific teams. Oregon in the first playoff 4-team, and Washington in the last 4-teamer. But for the most part, the strength has been in the SEC and the Big Ten. It's just now emphasized because they have each has grown by adding significant players. Texas, Oklahoma in the case of the SEC. SC Oregon in the case of the Big Ten.
I agree, Mike. If you've got a few minutes, I'd love for you to stick around for one more segment.
Sure, I can do that.
I understand. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we've got more Mike DeCourcy. We're talking about the Big Ten as we are we are less than 3 weeks away from game one. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
Segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator.
Breaking in those new producers is not fun.
Do you do you normally want a break around this like 54 mark or an hour mark?
Is my connection bad? Because I'm hearing you guys break in and out. Let me go out and I'm gonna go out and come back in here. Let's see. Get rid of that. Oh, wait a minute. What the heck am I thinking? I created it. YouTube Studio. Content. Live. Boom. Well, I can't enter it from there. All right, let's see. Well, what am I doing, dummy? StreamYard. All right. Get out and add to stage. See if that changes.
Okay.
We're ready. Holy moly. How's baseball? Have you been to any Pirates games?
Go 30 more
a couple
seconds.
months. I mean, I was obviously tied up with the Olympics and all that, but I've been to a couple. Yeah, I think 3 so far. Haven't gotten a chance to see the Paul Skeens Mania in person, but
man, that's like Mark the
15
Bird
seconds.
Fidrich, isn't it?
yes.
Nobody knows who that is. Nobody remembers him.
5.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, kind enough to stick around for another segment with us. And I'm looking so much forward to the college football season. It is a different season, Mike. We were just talking about the recent dominance of the Big Ten and the SEC, but it's been mainly the SEC. And again, like right now with the new top 25 coming out nearly 3 weeks before a snap is made, which drives me and it just drives me crazy. I am happy to see that the college football playoff committee doesn't do that until however many weeks into the season it is. So I'm glad to see that. But right now, of this top 25, 9 of them are from the SEC. And then 6 are from the Big Ten. So 15 of the teams are from those 2 conferences. And then you add 5 for the Big 12. So there you go. Those 3 conferences pretty much take care of it. ACC with 4. But the Big Ten is still behind right now. As in adding UCLA, adding USC, Oregon, and Washington, they didn't really get much this year of punching power. UCLA USC is a question mark, and Oregon is a team that has high expectations. They are one of the teams that has their same coach in place with Dan Lanning. USC also Lincoln Riley, but they didn't boy, they didn't really get a big punch with this addition of these 4 teams, Mike.
Well, I think that their horizon is much greater than what each individual university's football team looks like in year one. There are much more important components to this. It involves total athletic program, total university. The Big Ten, as always, in the expansion era, which started in 1990 for them, when they added Penn State. In that era, they have always been about adding universities that they felt fit their profile. Usually large state universities, members of the American Association of Universities, I believe is what the AAU stands for. That's exactly what they've been looking for. Others have just gone after football teams, but that's not been the Big Ten approach ever. And so they want to have significant markets, and they did that. LA twice, and LA, even half of LA is a huge market. And then you add Seattle, huge market, Portland, nice size market, not huge, but significant. And they add all that, as well as they add excellent teams in various sports. UCLA is great at a lot of things, including one of the best men's basketball traditions of anybody. The programs that they added have great facilities as well. I've been to Outson Stadium, not for a game, but I've been there. I've been to Seattle on multiple occasions at UW for basketball, and love what we used to call Heck Ed, and I think it's now Alaska Airlines Arena. But the basketball arena at Washington is one of the classic arenas. UCLA with Pauley and USC with the Galen Center, which is one of the best modern arenas for basketball. They've got just a lot going for
Oregon's floor needs to be blown up, and I know that they made some kind of change to it, but I hope
they are changing it. I don't know what it's going to look like, but they are changing the floor surface. I don't know exactly what that was.
I think that was a requirement to join the Big Ten. They're like, dude, that's got to go. We cannot look at that every night on the Big Ten Network back here. Nobody wants to see that crap. Get it off.
I do think they're changing it. I don't know what the new one will look like, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, that one was. I can take anything. I don't care. I can take Boise State's Smurf turf football field, and heck, even Edgewood High School, right outside of Bloomington, I think has a red football field.
Boise State, people complain now about the sameness of the NCAA tournament courts. The tournament courts, they all look the same. And I do think there are things they could do to differentiate them a little bit more prominent feature of the city in question, whatever city it might be. San Antonio, Detroit, Indy, whatever. I do think they could do that. But where it all began was when they gave Boise State a sub-regional, a first and second round site. And Boise State's court then had a horse head on it, like a huge horse head. It looked like The Godfather times 20. It was unbelievable. And it was just and it was such an abomination that it made it hard to watch the tournament. And I think that's what ignited the drive to go toward these sameness courts. Like I said, I'd like to see them dress them up just a little bit, but if it's between that and the horse head, I'm going for what the NCAA is doing now.
Yeah, I don't mind a little, just a little something. Even Indiana could do a little something, which they won't because they're their tradition of all traditions. But I mean, like, and when I say a little something, I'm like shading the interior of the 3-point area, just slightly. Nothing crazy. I don't like the craziness. I'm not even sure I like the gigantic logos. The normal size logo in the middle, but like Kansas, that one starts to. Or there's some that just really. They almost
Arkansas.
go from the. They just
Arkansas
go from the top of the. 3-point or the top of the key back to the other 3-point.
Yeah,
key.
it does. It does. When people say that Caitlin Clark shot from the logo, like if, in Arkansas, you can't help but shoot from the logo because that hog is that big.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we've got when does the WNBA return?
That's an excellent question. The sooner the better, because when I think that in the end, the U.S. wins the gold medal, great. Hardly anybody relatively compared to what we saw in women's soccer, where they had 9 million people watch the final against Brazil, and the men's basketball, which had an astronomical audience. I don't think the women's basketball drew as well, although I would imagine more people tuned in as it was apparent that they might lose. I think they missed an opportunity there with Caitlin Clark to get more eyes on it. And also, I think she would have helped them. But I do think, for the Fever's sake, that Caitlin's time off here, she's had now almost a month, and that's going to be great for her. She'll lose a little bit of that rhythm because she was really playing well before the break. But I think that after having gone basically directly from a full college basketball season directly into WNBA, and I think she has said this as well, that she was starting to get tired, it was starting to wear on her a little bit. Now with this chance to rejuvenate herself, I think the Fever have a chance to make a nice push here. They were playing very good basketball before the break. Not without, they weren't perfect, but they were playing really well and moving back into playoff contention. And I don't think anybody's going to want to play against Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston in the playoffs. They won't be eager to do that.
And I think that it was an advantage that Caitlin Clark was not on the Olympic team, though, because she could kind of rest her mind. She went straight from the NCAA tournament to the WNBA, basically the draft, right. And then boom, it was boom, boom, boom. She has not been able to rest her mind, and she has been under intense scrutiny.
Yes.
So I think it was probably better for both her and oh gosh darn it.
Angel Reese.
Yeah. To not do that, to get that rest, and then in Los Angeles they can roll. But
yeah,
and it's better for the Fever. They were starting to get their rhythm. It seemed like they started out slowly, and people were questioning Christy Sides and all this, and I'm like, what the hell do I know about coaching women's basketball? I'm not questioning anything. Plus, you have all these new players. I mean, you basically had a freshman and a sophomore, and Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston that you're working with here. It takes a minute to get stuff going, but they were starting to gel, and this is probably going to allow them to come out swinging.
I think it's a very good possibility. I will question the fact that in, I think, game 1 or game 2, coach played Caitlin as a shooting guard, and I had a problem with. But the rest I won't question. Like you said, I have watched some WNBA in my time, but I am nowhere near an expert. And so but I have watched. I will say, and I think you will find a lot of people who are in this category, Jim. I have watched 20 times more WNBA this year than in any previous year, because I enjoy watching her play that much. It is an absolute delight to see her play, and I watched a bunch in 2015 when the Fever made the WNBA finals that year. My friend Steph White was the coach then, and my wife and I went down a bunch of times to support her and to support the Fever. And then as the program started to disintegrate, there became less and less an imperative to do that. And one of the regrets of leaving Indianapolis when I did is missing the chance to see her play on a regular basis in person.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've watched zero amount of WNBA prior to this year. But I can also say that there were multiple times where in the evening when I finally got done working, whatever, sat down to eat, and it's like 8 o'clock, and I flip on the TV, and there's on the lineup, I can see a Fever game or whatever, and I put it on specifically. And that was never the case before. But I can also say that while I think that the Olympic team would have benefited from Caitlin Clark in more ways than just her presence,
right?
She is watching her play, her ability to be an assist leader is going to be so much bigger than her ability to score. Not that she can't score, but I've said this, you better be watching. It's like Larry Bird with the ball in his hands. You better be watching, because you're going to get hit in the face or the side of the head if you're not, with a pass coming to you. She is just always looking to make it happen, and make it happen quickly.
There are only so many point guards in basketball history that have that vision thing that she has. Nancy Lieberman had it. Larry Bird had it. Penny Hardaway, Jason Kidd. It's rare. I mean, even great point guards. Chris Paul was a great passer, but he was a little bit behind where the class of people I'm talking about in terms of vision. That next level, I see the pass before even the player who's going to receive it sees it. Those types of people, Magic Johnson, those players that have that, it is a special thing to watch, and she absolutely has that. And it's going to make the Fever that much better. I mean, that was part of the problem early in the year with turnovers, is that she sees those passes before others. Like I said, sometimes before the player who's going to be open knows they're going to be open, and that leads to turnovers. But once that reaches an equilibrium, and great athletes always end up finding that, because then they learn to expect it, and they get excited about expecting it, because it means, hey, I get to get a bucket. All I have to do is be aware. And when that reaches the equilibrium, and we've seen that now with the Fever, you see something special, because the player receiving the basketball ends up with an easier shot than they ordinarily would, because the pass comes before the defense can expect it.
Mike, what is up next for you, my friend?
Well, I have a fun story that just appeared today. I write this story every 4 years at the end of the Olympics. I call it the DeCourcy podium count. Every year during the Olympics, Jim, they tell you the medal count. It's the dumbest stat in all of sports. They do not award one medal for soccer. They award 18. They do not award one medal for a freestyle relay. They award 4.
So basketball, it gets whatever number is on the roster?
Yes, you get 12 golds, exactly. It's so stupid to say that's one gold medal. It makes no sense. How do you equate a gymnast getting on a balance beam for 90 seconds twice with 12 athletes in cooperation winning 6 basketball games? It's not the same. If everybody gets a gold medal, then everybody's gold medal should be counted. So the DeCourcy podium count looks at how many athletes stood on the podium and got a medal draped over their neck. And when you see it presented that way, it completely changes the picture. Spain was credited with 5 gold medals, Jim. They had more than 30. The Netherlands with 15. They had more than 60. And the United States had, I believe, 110 gold medalists, not 40. That's that. So it's out now. I just posted it. You can find it on Twitter at TSN Mike.
Is that the one that's under winners and losers from Paris?
No, that was yesterday's. No, this one is titled Olympics medal count. If we're going to track country by country, can we at least do it right?
There we go. Yeah, I see it. I was looking at the wrong spot. I pulled that up earlier. I've been wondering about that because it's common sense tells me that when I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, basketball has to count as one gold medal because it's stupid to count that as 17 or how many. Does the coach of those teams get a medal?
No, coaches do not get medal. No, so it's just the athletes, and it's the only way to make sense if we're going to do this. Now we don't have to do it, but it's ridiculous to sit there and say the basketball is one gold medal. Like, they don't sit there and slice it up 12 ways. They give you each one. Like, you don't get, like, one day Breanna Stewart gets to cape the gold medal, and then she has to ship it off by FedEx to Asia Wilson. That's ridiculous. Each player gets a gold medal because they all won gold medals. So why do we count it as one gold medal? Makes no sense at all.
So how many total golds did the USA bring back? Like 140?
110.
Wow.
Now, it doesn't count when the DeCourcy podium count does not count. Like, if you use alternates in a relay and then the final, you just count the final, because you could pad your gold medals by having, we were 3 different people run the first leg, and then these 4 won the no, it's just the ones that are on the podium. That's why I call it the podium count, the DeCourcy podium count. And why do I call it DeCourcy podium count? You know why? Because Ken Pomeroy doesn't call the Ken Pomeroy rating something else. So there you go.
Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't call it anything else. I'm like, because you're doing it, because you thought of it. If they would
adopt this, Jim, if they would adopt this as the standard, if the AP and NBC and all them would use that as a standard, I would sacrifice having my name on it just to get truth out there.
Hey, we've got the Elam ending. Why not the DeCourcy podium count? I think that you thought of it and it's yours. So we just got to keep marketing that.
Yes,
absolutely. I'll have to make sure that I retweet that. Have you sent that out on Twitter yet?
Yes.
I'll make sure I get that retweeted.
All right.
Mike DeCourcy with the DeCourcy count, the medal count, the accurate DeCourcy medal count. Just go to the Sporting News, which you should be going there all the time anyway, for great content from Mike and his compatriots. Sir, I cannot thank you enough as always, brother. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
My pleasure, Jim. You too.
Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got lots more coming up here on ISB, brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry. Go see Dr. J. Keep that championship smile. We're back with more right after this.
Segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Okie dokie.
Go live again right at 1:25.
Yeah. Oh. I've got a guest at we're out what?
Back again at 1:25.
Yeah, and then when's the show end today?
We should end it 1:58.
So we're just 4 over.
Yep. Because of that, I messed up that first ad.
I got Jeremy Gray coming on at right around 10:10. So I'll do a short segment here, and then I'll come back with Jeremy Gray. He is the head of. Yeah, he's the last segment. Whenever I see him pop in, I'll take a break.
Okay.
Get rid of that. Where the hell is it? I can't tell. Gee whiz. There it is. Okay. Did you do anything else yesterday with just looking at this stuff?
Yeah, pretty much just went through everything again and just listened to the audio. Didn't do too much, but
man, I don't know why. God darn it. It's my sound is just cutting it in and out.
That's odd because everything has been fine on this end. We go
Yeah,
back in
it's
25
my
seconds.
end. It's okay. Let me gee whiz, YouTube, StreamYard. I'm gonna come back in again.
And 8 seconds. All right. Oh. You there?
Could be. That is right, Brian.
All righty. We ready to go back?
Sure.
This segment is brought to you by Free Think Apparel.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Grateful to have you with us. Jeremy Gray will be joining us here in a little while. He is the head of communications at Indiana University, and look forward to talking to him about the myriad of things. And everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, you can do so. Brian was talking about some things a minute ago. Target score is akin to segment racing. He doesn't like either. Speaking of segment racing, NASCAR had a return. They were back after the Olympic break Sunday in where they were Richmond, and Austin Dillon, who has not won a race in a few years and has not won very many races, was in a position toward the end. And there was a wreck. Caution light came out with just a couple of laps to go. And so he was leading. But, man, he had a horrible restart. Joey Logano gets out in front of him. He's 4 car lengths. And as they come to the out of the fourth turn, he put the bumper to him hard. I mean, like hard. Norman, not he didn't really put the bumper to him. He just hit him and knocked him out of the way from 4 car lengths back. And then he hung Denny Hamlin in the left rear and spun him, which that's pretty egregious. I've never seen anybody take out 2 guys right before the finish line. I don't how he was able to get to Denny Hamlin is amazing, but the fact they won't do a thing about it. Which is kind of a joke because it's Richard Childress Racing and they want to spread the love, I guess. But that was kind of a joke. But we'll see. Jeremy Gray joining us in the next segment. We'll talk IU football. We'll talk everything, what all is coming up here in the fall. The fall sports about to cut loose as we're getting closer and closer. What are some of the things that are going on with IU football this year? As far as the newness, we know that they've changed the walk. They moved Heps Rock. And I'll have to ask him about that duck laying over on the rock. Russell, that's Jeremy Gray is the head of IU communications. He is all the media relations people report to him. So that's who he is. Russell asking that question. And let's see, Nick, the new producer, Nikolai. How are you enjoying it so far?
It's an interesting world because I've never been a producer. This is all very new to me. So I'm learning this as I go. But I think these are super useful skills to have, and I'm honestly just really glad to have this opportunity.
Oh, it just sounds beautiful. What is coming up in the world of sports as we wait for football? Baseball is coming down to the end. The Reds beat the Cardinals yesterday. Hello. Man, that's a stinger for the Cardinals. And the Cubs lose to the Guardians, so that helps. The Brewers lose to the Dodgers. So that helps. Let's what are the standings there? We got to pull that up. Just out of curiosity, have the Reds moved out of the basement? Yes, they have. Holy moly, by a game and a half over Mike's Pittsburgh Pirates. I should have brought that up. Man, the Reds now joined by the Cubs as a well, no, I shouldn't say that. The St. Louis Cardinals, you know, I've talked about the Reds being the only team that were in last place or the last two spots that had a plus run differential on the season, which they still are. They're in, you know, second to last in the Central Division, but have a plus 45 run differential. That's pretty substantial for being as far back as they are. But then you look at St. Louis, who is in second place, 7.5 games back. They have a negative 53 run differential. They are the only team in first, second, or third, in first or second of any division with a negative run differential. Half the divisions have the first three teams with a positive, but the other half, at least the first two. That Central Division is wacky in that National League, man. The Brewers leading it, St. Louis in second, but negative 53. They've gone 4-6 in their last 10 games. The Pirates, man, they have been on just a low 1-9 over their last 10. The Reds 6-4. So they've done nothing to gain ground on the Brewers as they sit 9.5 games back. Man. But there is a lot of equality, man. If you look down through there, the American League East, holy smokes. You want to talk about equality, parity. The Orioles, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Toronto Blue Jays. All of them, with the exception of the Tampa Bay Rays, have gone 5-5 in their last 10 games. Tampa Bay's gone 4-6, just one game under that. Man, that is absolute parity. Then the Central Division of the American League, the top team, the Cleveland Guardians, they've gone 3-7 in their last 10. Not good for them. The Houston Astros on top of the American League West, they've gone 7-3, and the second place Mariners have gone 6-4. So that's the only positive we've seen so far. The Phillies over in the National League East, leading that, have gone 4-6 in their last 10, and the Braves right behind them have gone 3-7. They're 7 games back. And I've already talked about the woeful Central Division. The National League West with the Dodgers, they have also went 7-3 in their last 10 games, and the Diamondbacks right behind them, 3.5 games back, have gone 8-2. The Padres right behind the Dodgers as well. Both of the Diamondbacks and the Padres, 3.5 games back of the Dodgers, have gone 8-2 in their last 10 games. So the best baseball being played in the National League West right now. So there's that. We'll see how that ends up. We've got to, Robert says, I was talking about NASCAR a minute ago. He says, not sure anything tops what Denny Hamlin did to Ryan Newman at Daytona a few seasons ago. That man has no business in a car, much less a race car. I don't know that comes close to what Little Junior just did there, but we'll see it. Oh, the Yankees are absolutely still in it. My gosh, they're a half a game out of first place. So, yeah, they're right there. They're right there, as are the Red Sox are 7 games back. So it's the Yankees and the Orioles battling out for that AL East spot. We've got to take a quick break. Jeremy Gray from IU Sports Communications will join us on the other side of this. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator.
Nick, once you do that, don't forget to change the insignia.
Did you just change it?
I did.
Okay.
Mr. Gray, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Fine. You look up and spry.
You know what? It's we're ready for the season. Let's go.
I'm ready for it. I'm telling you, I've been sounding like an IU marketing campaign here. Not what I'm supposed to be doing, but I can't help it. Hey, I say it like I feel. I'm predicting, I'll say it again, but remember, you heard it here first. Kurt Cignetti will win Coach of the Year.
Oh, there you go.
I honestly believe that. I know it's going to be hard to beat out Ryan Day and Dan Lanning and Franklin if they have a year that they normally have, because it's hard to beat those guys. But you're not going to take a 1-8 Big Ten team and turn them into what I expect Indiana to be this year and not win Coach of the Year.
Well, you know what? Those are the type of performance bonuses we like to pay around here.
Oh, do I get one for predicting it?
You know what? You have to talk to Kurt about that.
Oh, well, I can already. That answers that question real quick.
Funny.
I also think I was the first to say that do not be shocked to see Indiana land Juju Lewis.
Yeah, I can't talk about that stuff, but I do know that
I was wondering about that.
Really,
60 seconds.
Really good and methodical about their recruiting approach, and my guess is that they're going to land some good people. That's all I can say about that.
Yep. No specific players.
No specific players.
Which that cracks me up, that's still a stupid rule with all the things we are, because I accidentally asked a question at Huber's where I named a couple of guys. I don't know how that happened, but
30 seconds.
I think it's just because I'm like, wait, what? I'm sorry. There's still rules? I didn't realize that.
No, it is. Yeah, I can't play in a fantasy football league, but we're going to pay the athletes. So,
Right. Exactly.
10 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
This segment is brought to you by Free Think Apparel.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you as always. Brought to you by our good friends at the Ugly Group. We're on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Whether you're already there or are planning on visiting, make sure you stop by. They've got all your favorite foods, locally sourced seafood, and just a great place to be around. Jeremy Gray joins us now, the Indiana Senior Associate Athletics Director for Communications. And is there an S at the back of that? I always fight that. My degree is in communication, not communication. So I always fight that, Jeremy. Is which way is it?
They put the S on it on the business card. So you roll with the S here.
Yours makes sense because it's massive. It's plural, so that makes great sense. But Jeremy, not only that, he pulls double duty. He's your favorite PA announcer at Simon Scott Assembly Hall for men's and women's basketball games. And how's that been going? How much have you enjoyed doing that?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, what's been especially enjoyable about it is that both the men and women at home over the 2 years that I've done it win a lot more than they lose. So I get to give a happy outro more often than not with those two teams. But it's been a lot of fun. And I used to be a sports broadcaster a long, long time ago, and it's been great for my kids to kind of see me in a role that I used to have. So it's been a lot of fun. Now, I always start the year at about 180, and then by the end of the year, because I'm there for 40 different nights, I have pizza 40 times in a 3-month span, and I always end the season closer to 200 than I'd like. So I got to get back down to 180.
Well, it gives you something to shoot for, man.
For sure.
There has been so much excitement with heading into this football season, a new coaching staff, basically a new team in essence, and kind of a new league, a new schedule because the Big Ten East is gone, even though Ohio State and Michigan are both still on the schedule. It doesn't feel like the punching bag that it once was, being in that Big Ten East. And some of the teams that may have taken their place this season on the schedule, fortunately for Indiana, are not in a great place yet. Washington with a brand new coach, brand new team. Seven of Indiana's 9 Big Ten opponents have a coach in his first or second season, which is absolutely wild. And Indiana's, you could include them in that, but 7 of their 9 opponents, first or second season head coaches.
Yeah, it's wide open. I mean, it's a whole new Big Ten. The defending national champions lost their coach to the NFL. The defending national runner-up lost their coach to another school in the SEC. And it's wide open. We're really excited here, though. Coach Cignetti has infused a lot of life into the department, not just the football program. And we're really excited to see what the product is going to be on the field. I can tell you that as somebody working here internally with the staff, it's been great. They hold everyone accountable. It's very businesslike. I talk to the operations people every day about things that we're maybe going to do differently this year. I think people are really excited, not just amongst our fan base, but I think internally as well. And I can tell you that I oversee baseball, swimming and diving, volleyball, and tennis here as well. I'm the sport administrator for those programs. And Jeff Mercer will ask me questions randomly. So what's SIG really like? Like, I think he's even to our coaches, and they're excited to see it. So it's changed the department in some really positive ways.
Well, and speaking of Coach Cignetti, he's starting to take on this mythical type of aura of, well, what is he like? Because when he first came here, he set a tone in his opening press conference. And so I think a lot of people kind of took a cue from that. And he's just a no BS kind of guy. His pressers last about 7 to 10 minutes, boom, done and out. And it's just straight to the point. Here's the information, no wasted words. But I think that's part of his success. No wasted words. There is a plan. There's a rhyme and a reason. Everything has its place. And it is just, everything is just in order. And I think that is going to be part of what makes such a huge difference. That and the fact that his staff has mostly been with him for a long time. That continuity is crazy. You don't get that, especially at this level. And there's just so many positives, nothing but positives that we're hearing. The players seem to enjoy what is going on. And I think this is going to be a very surprising team for people, especially those that are outside, not covering Indiana, that look at Indiana and see that name, because that carries a lot of weight, sometimes good for Indiana's case, sometimes bad. But it's going to work out well for them, because I think that they're going to shock quite a few people.
You know, I'm not circling wins and losses on the schedule, but I do think the team is going to go into the mindset that they plan on winning every single game. And I know people say that all the time, but there is a feeling. There is an infusion of confidence. You know, some across the country are kind of making fun of us for what they deem irrational confidence based upon, you know, things that, you know, were said at a basketball game or whatever. But he had a quote where he said, I needed to find out whether the fan base was dead or just asleep. I had to wake them up somehow. And he found out that the fan base was asleep. And so he woke up the fan base. But I think he's also changed the mentality, you know, with his players. So they're heading into it really confident and, you know, excited to go. I would not be shocked if we shock people. Did very well in the transfer portal, maintained relationships with key productive players off of last year's team. I know that they feel that it is, you know, headed in the right direction. And whether, you know, we win 5 games or 10, I do feel like the program's heading in the right direction.
Well, I think that it's definitely going to be substantially higher than 5. I don't put it at 10, but not closer to 10 than 5. I'll say that. And not only that,
keep spreading it out there, Jim. Get people fired up.
Hey, man, I always say what I think. If I think it's great, I'm going to say that, and I just have belief in what's going on. You look at the schedule. Good Lord, who ordered this schedule to get 8 home games? I mean, that's remarkable. First of all,
everybody loves it except for kind of internal staff who have to clean it all up every single time. But it does lay out well. I think scheduling is a huge component. I mean, Jerry DiNardo has said this for years, that at IU scheduling, I mean, it's important everywhere, but to build it's really important here. And I think we do have a schedule that's laid out in a way that puts us in a position to be successful. And I do think the changing of the divisions with the addition of the 4 new schools opens things up for Indiana in really, really important ways. There were good Indiana football teams that would have won 8 games in the West and ended up winning 5 in the East. And you flip a couple of those seasons and the trajectory of the program under 2 different coaches could have turned out differently. I do think the time is ripe to be successful here. I also think Indiana's been aggressive in the NIL space, setting up Coach Cignetti for success. And you can feel the fan base. I mean, like everything from ticket sales to engagement on social media, it's rising. We're an interesting team to follow. I don't want to say relevant because, Alabama or Ohio State fans might make fun of us, but I do think people are looking at Indiana. I know this because I went to the Big Ten offices a week ago for a large conference event, and BTN employees, Big Ten employees are like, tell us about Cignetti. We're kind of excited to see what Cignetti does. So I think we're an interesting team. We're going to be an interesting follow.
Yeah, and that's what I keep telling people. I go, there's always been reasons for that they could use to get people excited. This has been organic. This has been completely organic and is being fueled by a lot of different things. It's being fueled by people in my industry that they're asking, wow, man, what they could actually do something. I believe that they can, just because I look at his staff. Like I said, I look at what they've done. I look at the fact that they've been together, which is of immense importance. And the guys that have come in, that have already come in as a part of this new team, whether they've come from JMU, come from someplace else, or were already here, but that they have brought together. And if you look at some of the things like Pro Football Focus, where Indiana has 3 of the top 10 defensive transfers in the United States, where that was against teams like Miami and Nebraska and Michigan and all these other teams. Indiana had 3 of the top 10. That's absolutely ludicrous. No one else had 2. I'm not sure. I don't believe. But they have brought in not just players, but with Curt Cignetti and his confidence and his offense. It's a truly it's something that's going to give people problems because they have been able to put the players in position. I mean, Curtis Rourke is undoubtedly going to be the starter, but he's a 5th-year guy. He's mature. Hell, he's married. Isn't he married by now? I know he was getting married when I talked to him last year.
Good way to keep your job around here is not getting into the personal lives of athletes. So I don't know, Jim.
Well, I knew he told us that he was going to be. And that's what I'm like going, that's maturity. I mean, you got a guy that's going to be married. That's maturity. I mean, you can tell he's it's like having a graduate student at quarterback.
No, it matters. And player-led leadership matters in teams here. I don't want to, delve into the Olympic sports, but having someone like Ty Bothwell on your pitching staff helps out the younger players and kind of shows them the Indiana way. And lo and behold, Indiana makes the tournament pretty much every year in baseball. Brendan Burns being kind of this 5th-year senior swimmer, when it gets tight in the Big Ten championships, that kind of stuff matters. And maybe it's been a little on the young side in recent years for IU football as far as their leadership goes. And to have somebody who understands Coach Cignetti too, from his previous stop, helping out the team, I think is going to pay big dividends. And you're right. I mean, one of the things about the continuity on his staff's really good. And take these rankings for what they're worth. But when they keep ranking top 50 coaches in this particular category in the country, you're finding that this guy is ranked 4th, and this one's 8th, and this one's 21st. These are highly sought after coaches that he has on his staff. So it's not just Curt Cignetti. I think it's the full deal.
I'm sure you don't have numbers to talk from exactly on this, but just out of curiosity, season ticket sales, has there been a bump there?
Yeah, up 10%. And I think that's twofold. I think one major component obviously is the new coaching staff and the excitement of Curt Cignetti. But I think another thing is Indiana fans, with all the changes in college sports, are really getting with the program that football is a massive driver. And I mean, they're not buying season tickets out of charity to help drive us, but I think people are understanding the focus on football. By far the most popular sport in America is the NFL. By far the second most popular sport in America, and I love basketball and baseball to my bone marrow, but people talk about Major League Baseball versus the NBA. They're not even close to college football. So college football is a huge deal, and I think IU fans are on board.
Yeah, I agree with you. And getting that bump in season tickets is huge for a program like Indiana, who they want to grow. They need to grow the stadium. Game day experiences are some of the things I know that they're working on. The walk has been changed. What are some of the other game day experience type of things that have been added for this hopeful? I mean, I don't want to call it a historic season yet, but man, it's possible.
Well, we've got some announcements to make, and we've made some announcements on this, and I don't want to undercut maybe sponsors of your show, but Levy has come in to take over our concessions operations. And I think it's going to help in a lot of ways. Lines will move quicker. Point of sale will be infused with new technology that will make a lot of those things better. The actual concession stands have been totally gutted and cleaned and remodeled. But Buffalo's is going to be serving wings. Avers is serving pizza. We've got a lot of that kind of stuff. So I think concessions are going to be markedly different and better than they've been in years past. I would also say the walk to the rock is something that I've always found confounding, that the buses would drop them off, then they would walk in the opposite direction of the football stadium to the top of a hill to then walk to the stadium. Like, walking in the wrong direction felt like a negative metaphor for our football program. So they're actually going to go directly to the top of the Assembly Hall or Simon Scott Assembly Hall stairs and then walk down. And I think it's going to be a much better visual. So that's going to change. A big point of emphasis for me professionally is I've been given the latitude by Scott to take over our video board shows. Myself and a staff member went to Auburn, which is the gold standard in video board production. I think you're going to see a much different, improved video board show. We are going to be putting the DJ in the student section. One of the things that I always scratch my head about is that our football team we'd start the intro video. They would walk out onto the field, watch the intro video, then run out onto the field. People call it running out of the tunnel for a reason. We built a tunnel for them to run out of. All right. So they're going to run out of the tunnel like a regular football team, and we're going to be ready to do that. And there'll be things that we're going to change that might be a little on the smaller side, but I think you're going to see a much different experience inside Memorial Stadium this fall.
Yeah, looking very much excited to it. And because we know that when you have a good product on the field, that creates buzz in the stadium, and getting the students to stay past that halftime mark, and others as well, is key, because they've gotten into a habit of this, it seems like, and it's time, and hopefully they will get out of the habit. Good product on the field, like we said, will be a part of that. But anything to try to keep them in or coming back in?
Yeah, well, one, I mean, I think we're gonna update the music to a certain degree. I would say this though, and I don't want to take up for the students. Everybody knows that it's the students that are leaving because they know where the students sit. The rest of you leave too. Or take a long time after halftime to come back into the stadium. So we need all of Hoosier Nation. Just because we can identify the ones that are between 18 and 22 pretty easily, doesn't mean that they're the only ones that are not coming back or that they leave or go to the Cards at halftime. So I think the video board production is a huge part of that. I mean, I don't think it cures all the ills. But if you marry the video board production with the music, it can really change an atmosphere, even with a team that maybe has had uneven results in recent years. I think it can change things, and whether we succeed or not, you guys will get to be the judge. Guys get to be the Siskel and Ebert on it, but a lot of emphasis on the video board show, and we're stealing all of the good ideas from Auburn and other places.
Hey, whatever it takes. I'm looking forward to heading to Los Angeles to the Rose Bowl to see Indiana play out there for the first time since 1968. Again, a game that I think Indiana is going to win. And what would winning a game like that on the road, UCLA in the Rose Bowl, what effect would that have, do you think, on the program, for the program?
Well, I think two big things. One, Indiana historically has struggled to win Big Ten road games, period. So knocking one off is a huge thing for IU in any year. It would also show massive signs of growth in the program in year one under Curt Cignetti. And I would say, too, that it's so early in the schedule, you get that win under your belt, and then the fan base and the players themselves feel like, hey, we're playing for a bowl and maybe more for the rest of the year. You knock that one off, it's just kind of like jet fuel for the momentum. As far as the Rose Bowl, I mean, it would be, wonderful symbolism and all that kind of stuff. And UCLA is a program that's had some success. But I think really bigger than that is winning a Big Ten road game very early in Curt Cignetti's tenure and really start putting those Jenga pieces together toward bowl eligibility early in the season, I think would be huge.
Absolutely. And looking forward to it. Recruiting, man, there are just some potential big recruiting pieces out there that hopefully will continue to follow. And I think that the possibilities are endless for Indiana if they can get this season under the belt. Am I right in looking at the last thing, the next year's schedule is the first 7 games are at home?
That I don't know. That
sounds crazy. Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that I don't know. Sorry.
Well, brother, that's all right. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining us here on such short notice. Always a pleasure to have you, but always great to get the information out and enjoy it. Look forward to seeing you soon, man. Hey, appreciate the coverage. Can't wait to see the media posse at 8 home football games, 40 men's, women's basketball games here at home, and the occasional Olympic sport too. But yeah, thank you so much for your coverage. And I think fans are going to be excited to see what we have in store for them at Memorial Stadium. Plus, we had the walk to the Rock, and the Rock was on the inside of the stadium. It's now on the outside of the stadium. So they're literally going to be walking to the Rock. So got to get that duck away from that rock, though. You know what? It already kind of worked from a fan engagement point of view. Like the duck laid on top of the rock, and clearly our fan base wants to defend the Rock. So it worked. It worked. Yep, exactly. It did not. The duck had to take down that post. Oh, beautiful! I love that. Yeah. Didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, he took it. Puddles took it down. He didn't want the heat from our fan base. Love it. Jeremy Gray, Senior Athletics Director for Communications, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you. You bet. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for us here today at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. Dylan Sin should be joining us, Kyle Neddenrip from the Indy Star, and Rick Bozich as well. Big thanks to everybody today, including Mike DeCourcy and Jeremy Gray, Nick, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, each and every one of you. Until tomorrow, we're back then to do it again. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.